Alrighty, welcome to episode 162 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. In an interview with Joe Rogan, Elon Musk has confirmed the Cybertruck's originally stated 0 to 100 km per hour performance as being below 3 seconds for the Beast version. In addition, he provided some new information on the Cybertruck's weight. Depending on configuration, the Cybertruck is now known to range from about 2.7 to 3.2 tonnes. In drone footage shot by Joe Tedmeyer, the Cybertruck can be seen driving in crab mode, which when combined with auto and semi-auto lane changing will make for a unique driving experience. During a visit to Giga Berlin, Elon Musk is reported as saying that the German factory will eventually build a €25,000 compact EV. This price, if directly converted, is approximately $42,000 in Australia. Horizon Power has officially opened its recently commissioned WAEV network 150 kilowatt ChemPower site at Esperance. The Australian Electric Vehicle Association has successfully held its 2023 AEVA Expo in Perth in celebration of its 50th anniversary. The expo was very well attended with many thousands of interested people visiting over the last weekend. The Bouldercombe megapack fire, which occurred during commissioning in September, has been explained in a report initiated by owner GenX Power. The report stated that, quote, "The preliminary root cause analysis indicates that a fault occurred in the AC side of the megapack unit. The fault then propagated to the battery modules within the megapack. The burn of the megapack followed design and certification testing expectations, with no external water required and no propagation of the active fire to adjacent megapack units or balance of plant." Following on from a 90% fall in its share price since listing on the Nasdaq 2 years ago, Tritium has announced the closure of its Brisbane manufacturing plant and the slashing of a large number of Australian jobs. In distressing news, regular Ask Us Anything participant and valued Tokwa member Daniel Whale died last Friday at the age of 42 after a brief illness. He is survived by his wife Diane, who is expecting their second child in January, and his 4-year-old son Casey. Well, I guess the only appropriate way to end tonight's news is to say Vale Daniel Whale. Indeed. And before we go on with the rest of the program, for anyone that wants to support the Whale family, if you go to GoFundMe, just click search. Sorry, let me just fix something up here. And just put in Daniel Whale. And you'll see his face here. And that's the GoFundMe page. I'll put a link in the description of the video of the direct link to that page. But if you'd like to support Diane and Daniel's 2 children, then please do so. Alrighty. Okay, on to happier things. If anyone is new and would like and is comfortable in introducing themselves, please do unmute yourself and say hi. I know there are a few new people there.
Well, I'll go first. Hey everyone, Riz here. I had the pleasure of attending the AEVA Expo and the conference in WA. First time heading over to Perth from Melbourne. So yeah, thanks for making me feel so welcome that I ended up joining Tokwa, and here I am.
Welcome, Riz. And for those that aren't aware, Riz is actually an AEVA committee member and also a TOCA committee member. So welcome, Riz. And you're also quite prolific on The Driven, and I presume a few other publications as well. And I think you've got your own small business there, Riz. What's that called?
Oh, Car Loop.
Awesome. And what does Carloop do?
Electric vehicle data. So anything to do with what's happening on the ground in the number of EVs, trends, high growth areas, those sort of things, and monitoring and tracking charging infrastructure. So hopefully helping friends who sometimes can't be helped in Canberra and other places get a better understanding of what's happening from EV drivers like us.
Fantastic.
And Riz, with your introduction, you were a bit modest because you were MC at the AEVA Expo for some of those talks as well. So you very modestly left that out.
Look, thanks everyone. It's good to be part of such a good community here.
Fantastic, and you're so very welcome. Now, speaking of anyone else who's welcome, is there anyone else who is new that would like to say hello?
I'm new. My name's Paul Vasallo. I'm from Mullaloo. Recently joined. Been a Tesla, I don't know, follower for a long time. Recently, a couple 18 months ago, got a Model Y. Long time shareholder. And I've got a Tesla. I've got a Cybertruck order in, but I think I'll be waiting for a while. But that's my dream car.
As long as you're waiting after me, that'll be fine, Paul.
No, I got in about 5 minutes after they opened.
I could be in trouble. Well, welcome in any case, and congratulations on not only owning an awesome car, but more importantly, the Tesla shares that go to help the company build those cars.
Just got to keep the faith.
Look, I think depending on when you bought those shares, and I won't do the disclaimer yet because I'm not actually giving any recommendations. But if you bought the shares more than a few years ago, I think you'll be doing okay, just quietly.
Yep.
Alrighty. Anyone else who is new that would like to say hello?
Yeah, my name's Anton. I've just placed an order for a Model Y, so I thought I might pop in because I've got a few questions, stuff I probably should have worked out before I placed an order, but...
No, totally cool. Now, very importantly, how long ago, what sort of Model Y did you order?
Just a basic rear-wheel drive, trying to take advantage of the novated lease tax breaks and stuff to save a lot of money.
And how long ago did you order it?
October 13th.
Have Tesla said you're going to get it on the next shipment?
No, I haven't got a VIN. I haven't heard anything except October to December, but everything I'm reading, I don't think it's going to make December.
What did you order? What sort of configuration car?
It was grey with the black interior.
The cheapest one, the standard one?
The rear-wheel drive standard one in grey with black interior.
The grey with black interior, you're right. It's pretty much the only configuration that's not on the boat. That's Harold, did it come today or is it tomorrow?
I had a look about half an hour ago and it wasn't on the horizon. I think it might be delayed because there's another boat sort of in the way. Right. So it might be tomorrow.
Yeah, and the last photo you posted, I was like zooming in as best I could, thinking I can't see any grey ones there either. I might need to change my colour if I want to get it.
But if you change to white interior, you might be able to get it sooner because there are cars, even inventory cars, possibly with white interior, or there will be in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've got no problem with white, but I've got a 9-month-old boy and a 3-year-old girl. My wife is absolutely adamant there will not be a white interior.
Sure. Yeah.
Just stick with. Sorry, Pete. Just stick with the order. I know it's frustrating. Look, many of us have waited years for our cars. Look, it's sort of tempting to get caught up in the flurry of there's a ship that's got some. I'll just change my order. Look, just stick with it. Look, there'll be another ship coming. Well, or more deliveries coming early next year. And if it has to take that long to get what you ordered, look, you're gonna like all of us, you're gonna forget that painful wait within seconds of you receiving the car, and a week later it'll be like a distant memory, and you won't care. You
And
really
you
won't.
might actually get a pleasant surprise because the Model Y, a bit like the Model 3, is undergoing a Juniper refresh, and you might get lucky, and you might not get hardware 4, but you might get some LEDs, or you might get a rear screen or what have you. You might get some of the Juniper, like a partial Juniper refresh in January, or you might not. But the longer the wait between you ordering the car and receiving it, the higher that chance.
Yeah, I saw they've done a refresh in China, and I said to my wife, I said, I'm not going to get my hopes up about getting that, because if I don't want to be disappointed. Like I'll leave it as a nice surprise, I think.
Yeah, and that's the right way. That's the right way to. That's the right state of mind to go into it with. So yeah.
And the current information from Tesla Australia is that there are no plans to introduce that partial refresh into Australia for the time being.
Yeah.
So look, it's frustrating. You may end up waiting 3 months, but it's a lot less than many other people have had to wait. And perhaps later on you might put in a Cybertruck order and have to wait a few years for that. So people that wait are rewarded in the end.
And there's still a few people in this group still waiting for their Model X and Model S, and which might be waiting for a very long time.
Okay, alrighty. So anyone else? I might try and go for a trifecta. Sometimes it fails. Anyone else that is new that would like to say hello? Or perhaps a bit later. Alrighty, now have we got Ant in the room? Yes, we have. Now you're right in the middle of my screen. Ant, can you please give us a bit of a summation of, I don't know, there's like a little casual meetup or something on the weekend? Can't remember what it was about.
You mean that 3-day COVID super spreader event, you mean? Yes.
Something like that. Yeah, that's it. That'll do. By the way, I can state that I'm negative, so I'm all right, Jack.
Likewise.
Yeah, go, Ant.
Likewise. Yeah. There was this event which is attended, very well attended, in fact, by just over 10,000 people, and we think that's a conservative amount, is far more than we expected. But manufacturers were there with representation from others, including Tesla, who displayed on your stand. But BMW, Audi, Volvo, Peugeot, and several others were there. Polestar, obviously, they were the centerpiece of the Polestar 3. Just one of the first viewings of the Polestar 3, which is extremely popular. There were so many people going through cars and sitting in cars that a couple of the cars actually their 12-volt batteries went flat and had to be pushed out of the event. And I believe that actually happens at quite a few motor expos. But it was massively successful. I don't think I had a voice after the weekend because you're talking to so many people continuously about EVs, and I feel that Saturday was kind of the majority of the people coming in the first wave when it opened at 10 o'clock was existing EV owners and people they've invited along. And it felt like the second day was more families who've discovered the event through the media and have come in, and they are intending to buy an EV. I think you guys and us and the other stallholders sold many cars on Sunday, and I think the effect of the information spreading out and it becoming mainstream is fairly obvious. It really was a great event, I think everybody was pretty shattered afterwards.
Hey, Ant, just as you were saying that, I'm reading a text message that says, "Hi, Pete. Thanks again for your time on Sunday at the Expo. A lot of great information shared. Have now ordered our new Model Y and will be joining the Tokwa team side shortly. Thanks again."
Oh, that is fantastic. Yeah, and I've had several who've done the same. And in fact, I had a couple of ex-work colleagues that I remember having a little bit of a giggle at my Mitsubishi IMEV 13 years ago. Oh, sorry, 11 years ago, and are now looking for their own EV. So one who went over to the Tokwa stand, I'm sure, because he looked very, very interested in that Model Y.
That's a nice car.
Yeah, so all in all, a very successful weekend, and essentially we were, although a few people asked, you know, what are you actually selling, or you know, what are you marketing, and essentially comes on EV seats. That's what we want.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell us about some of the delegates that came over, some of the participants, some notable
Yeah.
EV and other personalities.
So Charles Gregory came over from Tasmania. He drove over from Tas in his Model 3. Slept in his car most of the time. Although I believe he also was one of the people feeling a bit poorly. Whether he's tested positive or not is still to be seen, because he doesn't have any rats with him. But he's sleeping over. He slept over at Madeira Pass instead of sleeping in his car because he wasn't feeling so well. But he's been giving updates on his Charles on Charge Facebook page for the trip, and then and I think he was at Nullarbor Roadhouse today, and is making his way over that slow gap to Ceduna, which is of course the subject of another story relating to putting in 20 kilowatt DC chargers across the where we can. We're going to try and fund some, and with John Edwards' help. And then the other participant was Malcolm Street, who came across in his Cupra Born from New South Wales, and he had no real issues whatsoever, apart from at Baladonia, where he had to pay, I think it was $2 a kilowatt hour. But as I said to him, you know, that is certainly better than nothing. No charge at all. Then who else was there? That I noticed? Well, Craig Roycastle was there, doing a talk on EVs and sustainability and the like. Very humorous, witty chat. Lots of people got selfies. I'm very surprised you didn't. If you didn't,
Paul Viana might be able to share a story on that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I ended up being his Uber driver to the airport, and
right. Okay.
well, I wasn't doing Ubering, but Pete came and said, "Can someone take him for a spin?" And then Leonie was freaking out when I told her, and she goes, "Oh, where's the photo?" And I went, I was not going to be too much of a fanboy about it all. So
yeah.
If there's no photo, Paul, it didn't happen. Sorry.
I know. That's okay.
Photo while you're driving, right?
Yeah, no, it's all good. But it was a nice chat.
Yeah. And yeah, so there was a dinner on Friday night, which was the gala dinner for AEVA. And I'm afraid I didn't go, but I did. We did a lot of ferrying of guests up to Fraser's Restaurant in Kings Park with our EVs, and there was some demand for that. I did take the long way around and ferry a few New South Wales delegates who in fact had not experienced Tesla acceleration before, so they were one of whom owns a Nissan Leaf, so he was quite impressed. Yeah, but there was a lot to digest. The conference went off very well. It was all events were totally sold out. So again, the attendance was fantastic and far more than we expected. Of course, the numbers will show whether we broke even or not, but that's another story.
And Richard Laxton got the what's the award? Yeah, go Ant.
So Richard Laxton, in fact, Charles was disappointed or gazumped because Charles came straight across from Tasmania to Perth, and Richard Laxton he went around the top. He did a Harold and went around the top and got the Glenn George Trophy. Glenn George, of course, for those who don't know, was the first person to drive around Australia, and he did it in his MG EV conversion. And a few years later, he also attended an AEVA Expo, towing a blue teardrop behind his blue MG. So that was quite something. And the trophy is named after him, and it's for people who attend Expo having travelled the furthest. And there's a bit of waiting involved with in terms of what EV you do it in. If you do the same distance but you do it in a shorter range EV, then you get the prize.
Yeah, awesome. So just a couple of comments there to the gentleman in the Cupra Born who was grumbling about the $2 a kilowatt hour. I mean, imagine if you were given the alternative of, say, paying, I don't know, 30 cents a kilowatt hour to charge your car in 5 hours, or perhaps 60 cents or $1 or $2 or $3 to charge your car in 20 minutes, which I know you can't do at the moment, but just to have that little thought experiment of sitting in the hot Nullarbor for 5 hours and getting it cheaply, or staying there for 20 minutes and paying Nullarbor prices. I know what I'd pick all day, every day. So absolutely. I think we should all be respectful of wherever there is power available. And that was Baladonia, wasn't it, Ant?
Yeah, it did. It was in fact Baladonia, where John's got I think it's a 10 kilowatt or 20 kilowatt.
20 kilowatt Delta.
Delta, yeah, okay. Yeah, and to be fair, he wasn't moaning. He just mentioned it, but the thing is, it does come up. It does come up a bit, and when you're on the Nullarbor, DC is infinitely better than AC, and the gap across from the last stop on in WA, which is Madeira Pass, well, the last DC stop anyway, is terribly slow. You can't cover more than about 400 a day, 400 k's a day, unless you really push it in terms of hours. So any DC is good, is good charging. I've just put a picture in the chat of Glenn George talking about his MG conversion and towing his teardrop behind him, and that car without the teardrop went around Australia.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
so
that's a pretty car.
And in fact, there's a little tie-up because Glenn actually installed my solar panels, my original solar panels on my roof. He was a solar installer here in Perth, and he also it was 20. I can't remember when it was, but I think it was about 2007 actually, and he got me interested in EVs. He actually mentioned EVs to me first and got me all excited. So it was a few years later that I got mine, but he'd already done the loop. Can't remember exactly when. 2011.
Yes, it was. It was 2011. I've got the web page up
It's a
right
Tesla
here.
webpage.
So
It's got the
November 2011, Ant, in a
Yeah.
MG converted blue car with 32 kilowatt hours of battery.
Wow.
Any idea what the range was?
Not far. I would say that given he's very economical with it, he's not exactly a lead foot. He would have probably got near on 200 on a good day. Probably more like 150 on a bad day.
But he did have in fairness to others that have gone since, I think he did have a diesel generator on a truck, didn't he, that was helping him charge. So he had
Correct.
like his own self-sufficient setup.
Correct. He mostly leapfrogged, camping site to camping site, plugging in. But he did have the generator back him up. And I don't know how many times he used it. I know that Jeff Johnson, who's probably holds the prize for the lowest kilowatt hours in a car going around Australia, did it in a Nissan Leaf with only 21 kilowatt hours, and he did carry a generator with him, and that was used, I think he said twice. It was an Aldi generator, which he picked up for $360 or something ridiculously low, and it eventually packed up somewhere near Collie. So yeah.
Certainly doing it in a Leaf is punishing yourself to the extreme.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Never again.
Now, two people that were punished at the end of the AEVA Expo were the support workers for the Polestar 3 because they had to push that car out of the premises because, unbeknown to most people, it never was working. It was just a static display.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Ah.
Looked nice, but
They had to
Yeah.
put in on
Look the
on
part.
Gojek on the way in as well.
Wow.
Yeah, the Gojeks leaked hydraulic fluid all over the place, and so they thought they'd roll it in easily, but they couldn't. And when it had to go up on the stand, the Gojeks rammed up against it, the cylinders broke and leaked all over the floor. So it was pushed very, very with a lot of effort. I know how heavy that thing was because I think it was about 8 of us were pushing it and only just budging it. It was very difficult.
It's got a 111 kilowatt hour battery.
Yeah.
That's probably weighs a ton.
Just by itself, yeah. and
Awesome.
a WLTP of what 567K, which I thought was quite low for such a gargantuan battery.
Yeah, and
Not a Tesla.
well, top range is the top of the range variant does 0 to 100 in 4.7 seconds, but it uses 388 kilowatts to do that. So compare that to like the Model 3 performance uses 333 kilowatts to do that a second faster, 3.3 seconds. And the Model Y performance is
3.7.
3.7. I'm trying to remember the kilowatts of that. Roughly around the same, be somewhere around 330.
Since you're measuring 0 to 100 performance, one of the other cars, and I don't want this to be a let's just pour scorn on all the other EVs that aren't as good as Teslas, even if they're not, is this Porsche Taycan.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you might go, oh yeah, so what can it do? Well, for a mere $232,358 drive away, no more to pay, it can do a grand total of 5.4 seconds, 0 to 100.
But that's with launch control.
And that's got with launch control, and that's got a rate as one of the slower Porsches you can get for 200 big ones, plus. So, and it's doing it with a 2-speed transmission.
Yeah.
The Polestar wasn't cheap. What was the Pulsar? Wasn't that 141k?
Yeah, the top of the range, the one that can do 4.7 seconds, was about 175, I think, something like that.
Yeah, that's
A lot of money.
bullshit.
Why would
That's
you
true.
Tesla
It's
buy
just
the-
a lot of money.
Another way to put it.
It's a brick.
All
Yeah.
right.
But have you seen the new Rolls Royce Spectre in town? It's only 800,000.
What's that all?
Have you got one on order?
I've got two. The wife wanted one as well.
I must
And
say,
are you going to
yeah.
wrap that one?
No. I've ordered a nice, pretty colour.
I think. Oh, I don't have it handy. I did see Teko. You had a photo of it. Oh, there it is. I'll save it in 2 seconds, and I'll bring it up in a sec. Yes, yeah, very good. Oh, look, very reasonable, Nigel. I think it's good value, if you ask me.
Well, I mean, you get change from $1 million, so it is good value.
Yeah, that's right. I guess that's only what's $1 million? Let me see, 1,300,000. Look, if you just sell 3,333 Tesla shares, that'll get you the million, and then you can get some shares change. Why not?
No.
Go and buy some more if I want 3,500 shares.
Ah, dearie me.
Really?
Alrighty, I'll get that. Oh, I have got it up. Here it is. As it loads, that is the Rolls Royce on the back of a truck in Perth, I believe.
Yeah, down the Reed Highway.
Oh, wow. It looks like a Porsche.
yeah, actually.
It also looks a little bit like a what's that other expensive Bentley?
Yeah, that's what I
Like
was
the
thinking.
Bentleys.
For $800,000, you thought they'd have given you 4 doors, not 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little petrol / recharging port door. That's got to be worth a few quid.
Yeah.
Nice colour.
Baby shit green.
Well, it's shiny.
The colour I used to see in the lab. So. Anyway.
Now, speaking of colours, there is an interesting. Hopefully, this thing's not going to make noise. No, very good. There was an interesting sighting of a Highland Model 3,
yeah.
which, if I just
America.
pause this, if we look at the colours at the rear wheel, well, actually the front wheels as well, you can see red calipers.
Yep.
So that's basically indicating that that's very likely to be let's call it the ludicrous Model 3 refresh.
So, oh no, yeah, the indicator on the side was. I saw the handles.
So you
were
were saying
silver.
indicator?
I was just looking at the silver handles, but then I went, oh no, the indicator's black, so that must just be the covering.
The handles, yeah.
Because I was wondering if
They look dark there.
Oh yeah.
So I'd say it was the sun glinting on the anodized. What's the name? Yeah, it's a sun.
Yeah.
Because you can see the reflections.
Yeah.
So if we go across here, it's very much dark.
Yeah.
So
that looks sick.
and see the front
that's cool.
indicator. The
Yeah,
front
it's
indicator is
black.
also chrome delete as well.
Yeah. Oh, if
Now
it's quicker
I have
than
zero
my car.
doubt. Sorry, I have zero doubt that hasn't come from China. That's definitely from China, but obviously in the States for testing.
So,
But
Harold,
of course, you can't order one yet.
do we get new bucket seats with it?
Probably, because those seats with the bigger bolsters, though, I think that was part of the leak on Tesla's EPC website before they took it down, was showing the bolster along with the ludicrous badge, because the Plaid has got the Plaid badge, Plaid S and X, and the 3 has got the ludicrous mode where you see the star field vanishing to a point.
2.5 seconds, maybe.
What's a performance 3?
3.
3.3.
Just a 3.3 or something. Yeah.
Well, isn't the Performance S 2.8? I'm imagining it will be that.
The Plaid is 1.
Very
one,
No, Plaid's 2.
2. Yeah.
Surely, if they went to the effort, they'd have to try and aim. Look, if it was ludicrous, you'd have to aim for sub 3 seconds.
I thought Robin's Ludicrous. Oh, actually, is that Ludicrous? I thought their Ludicrous S was 2.8.
No, nowhere near. I think their
Okay.
S was quite slow, to be honest.
Mm.
In deference to people that have got old S's, I think they weren't.
Yeah.
They never touched 2 seconds. They were. I think.
Yeah, they were 4.
I think they were struggling to get to have a 3 in front. To be
Yeah.
brutally
Oh,
honest.
Yeah, the P80.
Mine's because my car's exactly the same as theirs essentially, but that'll do it in 4.5, and I'm
Yep.
sure they're got into 3 something.
It might have had a 3 in front. I mean, someone could chuck a link in the chat for the specs, but there's no way it didn't dream to have a 2 in front of it. Never. Not in a pink fit.
I thought the S did have a 2. It was 2.8, but okay.
Not
Well,
the old
that's
P85s.
P85.
Not the old P85s.
Yeah.
Maybe 100 100 Ludicrous.
Yeah.
But let's hope that. Look, I personally think they're going to gun. If you're going to call it ludicrous, they're going to gun for a 2 in front, just like the Cybertruck. You know, Elon Musk in his interview with Joe Rogan. You know, apart from the arrow shot, which I haven't got a picture of, but I mean, it was okay. Apparently, it quadrupled. I think it quadrupled the Google search interest in Cybertruck. You know, within that day of it coming out. So it just shows Tesla's skill in doing some viral marketing.
Yes.
And one manifestation of the success of Tesla is this graph, which basically shows.
Oh, sorry.
So 2 seconds, Paul. Which
Sorry.
basically shows the luxury car US sales from 1985 to 2022, but we're going to zoom forward to 2012. And it goes something like this.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
In a mere 10 years.
Yeah.
It went from nothing, basically, to heads and shoulders.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Cybertruck is going to do that to the four-wheel drive truck market. From nothing to probably the top.
Yep.
And that was despite all the fear and, you know, bad, you know, made up publicity that the other car makers threw at them and oil companies. Amazing.
I'm still not convinced mining's going to adopt the Cybertruck anytime this decade.
No, they're too set in their ways, I think.
I'll try and change that, but
Hey, you got him to get a electric Loki, so you know Loco.
Stop it.
You could do that.
And-
you could.
And buses and minivans.
Well, see, there you go.
So Cybertrucks, look, once they see the specs, once they find out, look, Tesla needs to open a service center in the Pilbara.
Yeah, definitely.
If they did that, the sales would go. I don't want to say spazzo because that's a contentious word. Just go ballistic. It's just going to go ballistic.
Ballistic, boom, boom.
But if they see the safety specs compared to what they're using at the moment, they can't argue against it. They'd have to go with it.
I was about to say.
Has anyone had that conversation with Tesla?
Conversations have been had, yes. Yeah. Yes.
All right, keep us posted.
The thing is, unfortunately, it's one of those things. It's probably a case of they need to build it and they will come. A little bit like Western Australia was. WA usually bats above its weight for luxury vehicles. You know, we're a capo mining state with lots of, cashed up bogans and others and business people and moguls and whatever. So we usually do pretty well on, our Ferrari sales and all those other silly cars. But Tesla, up until the showroom was opened in Osborne Park, and also, the showroom and to a lesser extent the service centre, a real one. As soon as the showroom opened, I wouldn't be surprised if Perth is actually probably one of the best states per capita, or even, the showroom is probably one of the best performing in the country, because some people just need to put their bum on that seat.
Pretty much was last year, Harold. I remember when I was in Sydney and I was speaking to some of the people in some of the other service centres and showrooms, and they were saying WA is it's the star of the country.
Yes, and it's just because some people, no matter what the specs are, no matter what the images are, they just want to sit in the car and just confirm that intention of buying that car. That's what some people want to do.
The thing is, though, I'm seeing, whenever I'm up in Headlands, I'm seeing loads of, there's been 3s there for years. I'm seeing Model Ys up there now. And I think Karatha's, got quite a few as well. I mean, just the logistics of servicing and maintaining things, you'd think they'd need to have some sort of infrastructure up there.
If they put the chargers in, imagine what they'd go like then, because people wouldn't hesitate if they can charge, and particularly not just in towns, but along the highways, particularly the two major highways. You're laughing.
Yes, and obviously that's something, the WAV network, I don't have an image of it, but they actually had an awesome Scalextric set on a rather large table that was shaped in the table had the map of Western Australia and each charger location, and the Scalextric set sort of loosely went around all of those chargers. And, one thing that was missing was the Great Northern Highway. So Bill Johnston actually at the AEVA conference launched the second tranche of the Charge Up program, which is in support of, continuing support of AC chargers, but now also in support of fast DC chargers. But the glaring omission, as we've banged on this program several times, is the Great Northern Highway between Perth and Port Hedland. But anyway, getting back to Tesla, and thanks to everyone who has voted for Norseman. So I might just bring up that email so I can remember what the address was. I think it was
Robert
68
Street or something.
I think it was 68 Roberts Street in Norseman. So for anyone that hasn't done so, or if you're watching on YouTube, please go to Tesla. I'll just bring up the Tesla website.
Do we know the threshold of how many votes we need to get a pin put in before we vote on it?
No, I don't know whatsoever.
Good.
I just don't know. I guess as long as we get more and more and more votes for one place, then that would, if you presume there's sort of like a quasi-random, various people who are interested in voting at all or suggesting a future site to be voted on, presuming they pick sort of locations quasi-random, well, if there's a non-random number of people picking one particular spot, let's just hope that that floats above the rest. And the point in actually doing this is that if we can get it as a voting location, and we can get it to be in the top sort of half a dozen of APAC, it seems that Tesla always does pick 1 or 2 or 3 winners per round in Australia, regardless of whether their actual ranking in APAC was a bit lower. So, and the reasoning for picking a place like Norseman isn't because if they put one in Norseman, you can just drive straight there. What it is if Norseman is chosen, just like Southern Cross was chosen, we know in Southern Cross's case they have to backfill to Meriden. Now, if we pick Norseman, then we know that they would have to backfill to Kalgoorlie or Coolgardie, and that actually makes sense because then that completes the Goldfields route. But they are also inclined to backfill Esperance and Ravensthorpe and possibly Jerramungup, because we know Tesla are going to Albany. So that's part of the strategy. And the same thing is we've got Tesla putting one of the winners in South Australia is Port Augusta. So the other suggestion would be to vote for Ceduna. And in fact, I think Chuck and I will have to talk and work out. Frustratingly, you can't just pick a town. You have to actually pick an address, a specific address. And I picked, I think it was 68 Robert Street, because that's actually, well, 68A is where the WAEV network charger is. So that's an easy location to suggest because we know there's a transformer there and there's power available and spaces. So yes, please do that. Frustratingly, I'm not finding the actual voting. Oh.
Sometimes, Harold, it's easier to do a Google search for Tesla supercharger voting.
Yeah, what was weird is it actually showed it. Yeah, okay, let's just do that. Sorry for this. Supercharger voting, here we go. So if you just do Tesla supercharger vote, it's this one here. You can vote on the proposed locations, or you can suggest a new location. And when you do that, when you pick a location, I think it was, is it definitely 68?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you go 68 Roberts Street. Right. So as I put NOR itself, it auto completes. You can see Norseman just there. So you just pick it, and then for the benefit, just pick need to get to my travel destination. So it's not, don't say it is your destination. You need it to get to your destination, which is obviously, the great thing about Norseman is it's at a 3-ways crossing. You go north to get to Kalgoorlie, you go south to get to or come from Esperance, and you clearly go east to get to the eastern states.
Ceduna, Port Augusta.
Yeah, absolutely. To get to Port Augusta, which is the current winner. It was the winner in 2023. I forget which quarter it was that it won that thing, because at the moment, if you look at the actual proposed locations, none of them are in Western Australia. So, whoops, they are all on the east of us. So there you go. So thank you for all those that have voted, and if you haven't, please do. And that'll be a great thing to do. Alrighty, have we got any? Sorry about this, but have we got any questions for the long delay? Have you got any questions or comments, especially from anyone who's new or got some thing they've always wanted to know about their car?
Harold, was there always a padlock on that three-phase connection in Norseman at the Oval?
No.
Yeah, because when I came back from Adelaide, I rang ahead and there was a padlock on there, and I had to ring them again, and it took them nearly 2 hours to get there before I could even start charging.
So it was padlocked and turned off inside, was it, in the meter box?
It was just padlocked, so you couldn't actually turn the switch on.
So you mean the switch was padlocked, not the meter box?
Yes.
Oh, right. Wow. No, I didn't know that. Look, I guess the good news is that Norseman is due to be turned on imminently. That is the WAV network. So I guess it would then become a moot point. But no, Mark, you're the first person that I've heard report that. So yeah, that comes as a big surprise.
Okay. Because it would be just awesome when they get it up and running, because as soon as I got to Southern Cross, it was a totally different trip coming back.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. And it is so different because in 20 minutes you can get 200 kilometres of range, which is enough to get you to the next place. And then you can drive another 2 hours and then spend only a mere 20 minutes rather than, 4 hours.
I timed it, and it was the same as if I were driving a petrol car from Kalgoorlie to Perth.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you're in a petrol car, you've got to have a stop, and by the time you've got to attend to the petrol pump, you then got to go in and pay, and you still do all the other things that we do, which is go and buy something, drink something, wee something. So you're right, Mark, for sure. Absolutely. Alrighty, any other questions or comments?
Yes, I thought I'd just give some information for anyone who's still looking or concerned about whether they're going to get a rebate from the Department of Transport. They're actually listing now the amount of rebates that are being paid because some people were thinking they possibly may miss the rebate if it actually got to the 10,000 point, but they've just listed it on their website now that 3,230 have been paid up until 31st of August.
Oh,
very good. So
31st
that's
of
the
August.
website there.
Ah, wow.
So they've still got a long way to go.
Wow.
Well, that was August, September, October.
So that's data current as of the 31st of October.
Yeah.
Now that's, bearing in mind, that's applications paid, so processed. And they get processed, you can only put in the form after you've actually received the vehicle. So there may also be some hundreds of applications being processed. So the true number, if you put in an application today, may be a bit less than the 3,230 as of a week ago. So Pete, was that what the Environment Minister said?
No, he said 2,700 in his
That's
opening speech during the AEVA Expo. So, yeah, it seems to be a bit of conflicting information there.
Maybe this information's a bit stale. And maybe what he was referring to, maybe he had included pending applications on the presumption that they would be processed. And I presume as they dwindle down, they will get processed in order of arrival. So there's going to be this unfortunate time that always happens that there'll be those that thought they were going to get the rebate and they just don't end up getting it because they were the 10,001st applicants.
I did actually send an email to the Department of Transport about 3 weeks ago, and they did say 27% then. But she said from every month onwards now, at the start of the month, they're going to update the figures regularly. So.
Excellent. Now, I forget who the gentleman was some weeks ago that, saw that there was some wording on the website implying that the dutiable value did not include mag wheels and things like paint and underbody and glass protection. Now, I actually went down the rabbit hole of looking through the website, and there's a few various links, and there are some links to the Department of Treasury. And frustratingly, there is a bit of there are some contradictory terms. One tiny section says that it doesn't include mag wheels, which implies if you get a Tesla with 20-inch, I forget what they're called on the Model Y, but it's not the Uber turbine, it's called something else. Those induction, if you get the induction wheels, the initial wording sort of implies that they're not included. If you drill down to the definition, what constitutes a definition of dutiable value in the Department of Treasury in WA, it definitely says everything, every accessory that's fitted to the car, everything. So apologies to that gentleman who was getting frustrated. The frustration is the website isn't entirely accurate, but the definition they refer to is the Treasury definition, which is very clear. So if you get a Model Y, please only get a Model Y with just one option. That means either a different paint color other than Poverty Pearl White, or if you get Poverty Pearl White, pick the induction wheels or the black and white interior. And it goes without saying, please don't ever pick enhanced autopilot or full self-driving, ever, regardless, because if you do that before you buy the car, before it's delivered, you will then also pay additional stamp duty because it gets added to the dutiable value. And if it's a higher price car, you may also pay additional luxury car tax. So please don't do that ever. But if you want to get the rebate for a Model Y standard range, that is only, please get it with just one option. Alrighty. Any other questions or comments?
Yep, I got a couple.
Yes, Paul.
I got the wheels that you just mentioned.
Induction, yes.
The induction wheels, and probably I love the car, but the one thing that I'd like to sort out eventually is the firm ride. It's quite a firm ride. I've been scanning all the chat around, what suspension solutions are coming out. So I just wondered whether anybody else has got any suggestions on that. It's not a deal breaker. I still love the car, but I think if I eventually get the Cybertruck and want to pass on the Y to my wife, she would dearly love it to be a little bit of a smoother ride. Yeah.
So Paul, have you tried what you could try is book a test drive with a Model Y at Tesla and ask them specifically for a standard range, standard wheeled.
I did that.
And was the ride better on that car than yours?
Yeah, that's a good. I actually ordered the car and then I went for the test drive and I drove both of them. And I really didn't pick up a big difference. It could have been where I was going. I mean, I know tires might be a thing I can change, when they wear out and I get a bigger tire.
Well, no, you can't because you've got bigger rims. So you've got lower profile tires because you've got the induction rims. So you can't get higher profile tires. And it's really the profile, because it's got less sidewall. I'm pretty sure they make the sidewalls necessarily stiffer, because if they didn't, you would just be bashing against the rims, in potholes and things like that. Right. So the lower profile tires have a firmer ride. Hence my question, had you compared the two side by side? Because look what you may do. Look. I mean, you can get that in the States, and I guess increasingly they'll be coming here. There will be various suspension modifying kits. There's even an active suspension kit that I saw was coming up in Europe, and that actually has air suspension. But I mean, that was about, I think it was €2,000 ish, and you're going to void bits of warranty of your car.
Well, that's exactly
suspension
right.
warranty
But
and
that's
things.
why I'm holding off because, yeah. It's the same with the tow bar. I was looking at tow bars at the expo, and they look well built and that sort of thing. But I thought, no, about $1,500 fitted, and then looking on the Tesla website, there are nearly $2,000, 1950, I think.
1970.
1970, and I thought, well, then I wondered about warranty issues with getting like a aftermarket, tow bar, but that's a big difference in cost. I imagine if you went for the Tesla one because they're fitting it, it would be, that's the deal.
Look, I personally would highly recommend you buy this, and the main reason is that it's fully built into the car, and it also then means that the car has tow mode. So it means when you reverse a trailer, it will not. You can actually see the ultrasonic sensors right here. If you get one of the aftermarket tow hitches, which I've had no experience with, but I trust that that physically they perform okay, but they cannot suppress tow mode. So when you plug a trailer in to the loom, which they've got into the connector, the trailer connector, the electrical connector, it's almost all but certain that the car will detect the trailer. If it was this tow package, but that's because there's a separate module that's also additionally fitted when they fit the tow package, which enables that capability. If you buy an aftermarket tow hitch, when you're reversing, your sensors will probably scream at you, and that would be a little bit annoying. And I guess there's a safety aspect, which I think we mentioned last week, that when your trailer is engaged, is connected on an authentic hitch, the car will automatically prevent you from engaging autopilot because it doesn't want to control the car automatically when there's a trailer. And I did also say that if instead you had fitted like a bike rack with external lights, which some have, then you could suppress trailer mode by pressing the trailer mode button to assure the car, yes, it's only just a trailer hitch. A bike hitch, and it was okay to engage autopilot. And obviously, humans being resourceful as they are, you can work out there's various combinations of pressing buttons that can achieve different outcomes. That's the killer, right? As far as I'm concerned, less than $2,000 is not expensive. And if you say that the others are $1,500, well,
the features you've talked about make up for that. Yeah.
And it's just a bit over an hour they install it.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, I had one done for Leonie's.
Right. Thanks for that, guys. That's really helpful. Yeah. And
and you said you had a couple of questions, Paul. So you go for the second one.
Oh, that was the two. Really? It was
cool.
Just the suspension and.
Sorry. Yeah.
I did hear the latest Model Y. They've really tweaked the suspension. So
how old's yours, Paul?
Just over a year. Yeah, September.
Look, they have. Yeah, they have. Yeah. Definitely changed suspension parts. I drove the same sort of car you've got, and in fact, Pete and I both did, and Pete still is. And look, it's a firm suspension, but we drove over some pretty crappy roads over east. And what do you reckon, Pete?
I'm the wrong person to ask. If anything, I prefer the suspension to be firmer. So, I had no issues with it. I do remember reading a lot of car journalists, and that was one of their main cons. So they had a lot of pros for the Model Y, and that was always either the first or the second con was the suspension being too firm.
Yep.
So when I got in the car, I was expecting the suspension to be firm, and I thought, what are they talking about? This is, if anything, I'd like it firmer. So,
Look, I don't mind. I don't mind it. It's just other folks, find it a bit firm. It's lovely to drive. So, yeah.
Well, then, in which case, just persist with enjoying your car and just do that. You're going to enjoy the Cybertruck when it comes, and you're not going to. I dare say your awesome Model Y is just going to be rather unloved in the side of the garage. That you got a shiny new Cybertruck, and you're just not going to care about it anymore. I'm afraid it's.
Paul, one other solution is to do a big lap. So do a lap around Australia. That's about 13,600 kilometres. And I'm sure you'll be well used to the suspension once you come back.
You've done that, Peter. You've been around?
Both. Well, Harold's done it 3 times now. The only person in Australia that's done it that many times. But I had the pleasure of doing it with Harold when he did his second run. So Harold went anti-clockwise, I went clockwise, and we met in Barclay, Northern Territory, and then we could get around. Harold did it in 14 days. I did it in 16 and a bit days.
Yeah.
Prior to that, the furthest I'd ever been in a car of any fuel type was Broome. So to take an EV all the way around Australia was,
that's ambitious. Yeah, that's cool.
It was big for me. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And the great thing. Look, everyone should do it. The great thing about it is you can start as an absolute novice, and I guarantee you that when you finish the lap, you will know more about your car than you ever imagined. And you'll also learn a few things about yourself too. So it's an awesome thing.
A little bit like picking up your Model 3 at the end of March, then heading off the 10th of April to drive to Brisbane.
Yeah.
Well,
Paul,
exactly.
Learning curve.
Paul, you've just got to hope that she will keep the Cybertruck. She might want it. You mightn't get it.
Like you got to think positive about the Cybertruck. I look, it's really simple for me. I just want the wank factor. I want to be able to drive down the road in the Cybertruck.
Look, so many cashed up bogans are literally going to lose their minds.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we're in Freo, Harold. Just cashed up hippies, okay?
Oh, look, the hippies. Look, it's got no paint coatings, so that's pretty environmental. So they've got to love that.
Yeah, shopping trolleys be damned. Bring them off.
It'll be too expensive, and it'll be too big for hippies. But the cashed up bogans, I'll tell you, Harold's got a point there.
I just can't wait to see everyone tagging them up and like spray painting them, putting stickers all over them, and it's going to be great. It's all over it. Paint
it's gonna be fun. Yeah.
Paint it with house paint. No, why not? Let's go for it.
The thing is, can you imagine the rednecks? Because Elon Musk has already shown the way. He has literally already shown the way. Let me just open this in a new tab and hope this works. It's very short notice. This is one of the cars in our famous 2010 hailstorm.
Yeah.
Well, imagine what the rednecks are going to do with their Cybertrucks when they unload Tommy guns, 9mm, whatever they can, and they will turn their Cybertrucks into golf balls. They'll have more dimples from bullet. They're not holes because they won't go through, but they'll be shooting them. They'll be doing all sorts of stuff with them. And the more dents they can put in them, the better.
Oh, yeah. They're
going to lose their minds.
Yep, I reckon.
So
I don't know if you guys have ever spent much time in the States, and obviously me being in rail, I notice these things. But when you look at freight rail in the US, they're covered in bullet holes because rednecks just sit out in the middle of the fields and just take pot shots at them. It's going to be like that.
It's like the kangaroo signs and the speed limit signs.
Yeah.
True. So true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder if at Mount Isa, which used to be a lead mine, no, it was Broken Hill. I wonder if all they did was erect a big sign and all the rednecks just shut it up so much there was so much lead left over. They thought, "Ooh, we can make a mine out of this."
God.
Ah, dearie me.
Mm.
Alrighty, but yeah, go Cybertruck. Can't wait. It's only about 3 weeks, I think, before the
Supposedly.
delivery event.
3 weeks and 3 years.
Supposedly.
What was that, Rich?
3 weeks and 3 years.
3 weeks and
Oh,
3
yes.
years.
Yeah,
And I just hope I'm back from my little lap just to see it live. That'll be awesome. 31st of October, which for us will be the 1st of... No, 30th.
November in the US.
So 1st of...
1st of December, sorry.
Yep.
Yes.
1st of December.
Always
I'll
waiting
be
for it.
working from home.
Sorry. I was just going to say, it'd be interesting to see where the prices fall. Because they were pretty attractive when they were first announced.
They'll be a lot higher than when they were first announced.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had that video. 2 seconds, I'll just bring it up, which had the prices. Because it's just really weird. Tesla never actually put up their launch launch event. All they did was a little Cybertruck promotion thing. So you have to actually get it from third parties. In 2 seconds. Oh, there we go.
Is that them
starts at
hedging their
39.
bets?
Starts at 39,900.
Yeah.
And I think.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, there you go. $69,900 for the tri-motor.
Yeah, that's a bargain. I went middle of the road at that point, but yeah, I think it's going to be way more than that. Probably add another 40% to that.
Yeah, you're not far off. I think there are rumors that the tri-motor version is $100,000 US, which in Australia would then be about, it's getting up towards, once you got luxury car tax and stuff, depending on its definition, if you had to pay full luxury car tax, that's creeping up towards $200,000 worst case on the road. Yeah. But if it's defined as a commercial vehicle, then it will become exempt of luxury car tax, and it's got to do with the ratio of passengers. Which one good thing is, one thing that helps that is the fact it's only got 5 seats. So when it was originally launched, it was
a 6-seater,
launched as a 6-seater, and what you have to do is you totalize the number of seats, multiply them by 80 kilograms to get the passenger weight, and then the amount that the car can carry as cargo has to be more than that equivalent passenger weight, or a ratio of that. And if that is the case, and if it meets a certain threshold, it's just possible that if it meets a commercial vehicle threshold, then you won't have luxury car tax. In which case, it might cost, the top of the range one might cost, as inverted commas, little as 165, 170,000. The top of the Wazza.
Are you sure you got that calculation right, Harold? Because that sounds like as long as it's more than 400 kilo.
Oh no, sorry. Well, it's something. Maybe it's a ratio of that. Maybe it's twice that or something. It has to be able to. Its carrying capacity has to exceed that by a certain amount. I just can't remember what that is. Look, it's something that we just don't know at this stage. Once we know the full specs, then we can work it out. I think the tray has to hold a bit over, somewhat over 1.5 tons, which we know it sort of does, because in the reveal, the payload was 3,500 pounds, which is 1.59. I just can't remember the threshold right now.
Yeah,
Well,
can't
Harold,
believe
we're going to have a fair bit of time to work it out anyway. I think.
Yeah, sadly so. Yes.
Right, Harold, I've just Googled something. I don't know. I'm just reading it out loud. I don't know if it makes any sense, but it says that the payload, if the payload is under one ton or the 1,000 kilogram limit, according to paragraph 14, it may still be classified as a commercial vehicle if the seating capacity times passenger weight doesn't exceed the remaining payload. So seating capacity times passenger weight. So if the passenger weight is 80, as you said, that's 400. So if the 400 doesn't exceed the remaining payload, and as long as the payload is under a ton?
Yeah, under a ton.
Okay, so the payload is definitely above a ton because it can hold 1,590. Because if you believe the 3,500 pounds, and I'm sure that that's not going to decrease. That was from the launch. That was from the reveal in 2019. So that. Okay, well, here's a question: does anyone know? Does a Dodge Ram, does a Toyota Rogue, those very expensive cars, do they have luxury car tax attached to them? If they don't, then there's your answer. But anyway, that's for someone in YouTube. They can Google it and have a look. Because if it doesn't apply to those vehicles, then it definitely will not apply to the Cybertruck. In which case, the worst case of 165 to 170,000 would probably still hold. So there you go.
The luxury car tax, that's a federal tax, isn't it?
Yes. Yep. And it's exempt on commercial vehicles. So, but they have to be in the definition of commercial, which you looked up, Pete. So yeah, maybe that's actually quite positive for the Cybertruck. But hey, let's like was suggested. I think we're going to have a few years to contemplate it.
Yeah.
And I don't care. I'm going to buy one anyway. You only live once.
Yep.
Yep.
So and given that Tesla's share price was $222.22 minus 4. It's got a bit more to go. Not financial advice, but
going the wrong way.
There you go.
I don't want to work no more.
Good time to buy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you can play your thing.
Yeah. Yes, I guess we should preface that with.
The following segment is general in nature and shouldn't be taken as personal professional advice. Listeners should seek their own independent assessment from a qualified advisor and not rely on the general nature of information in this program.
Oh, Tesla share price. Yeah, just buy Tesla shares. If you have spare money that you can afford to lose. That'll do. Disclaimer built in. But what was it? Oh, now that's something I sort of didn't put in the news because if I put everything in, it just gets longer and longer and longer until it becomes a whole program, which could be a good thing. But obviously XAI has launched Grok with some very entertaining answers, and they've literally done this with 2 months. They've developed their large language model with 2 months of training, which is mind-blowingly short. So it can only really get incrementally, if not possibly exponentially better. But one thing, this is getting down to, and that's not going to affect Tesla's share price, but one thing that may affect its share price and the utility of the vehicles, and we don't know which cars this is yet, but Elon Musk has said that if the AI computer in Teslas is able to run the Grok model, then the cars, when they're not driving around, could be farmed out to the AI effort or the grok as basically a distributed grok system, for which naturally the owner of the car would get a cut of, will get a payment of some sort. And that payment would obviously have to exceed the energy that the car would consume in performing those functions. So there's just another feather in the cap for Tesla, whereby if the cars may constitute one of the world's largest distributed computer systems.
When not in use. So
we're not in use. Yes, precisely.
Yeah.
And all of our cars, I can literally say, I mean, as much as my car has done 50,000 kilometers since April, for 90% of the time, it's been doing nothing. And right now, all our cars, including Paul Viana's, is literally doing nothing.
Money.
So it could be earning money. And obviously, Tesla would take, I would say that Tesla would take a cut, because it would be mad if it didn't. The owners take a cut, and it goes to help XAI bolster the features of X.com.
Tesla would take what will probably seem like an unreasonably large cut, because what other option have you got? You can either get a little bit or none at all. So
why not do what Apple does and take 30% for doing basically nothing?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it was even more than that.
Well, whatever it is, and who knows what the value is? Perhaps it's, I don't know. Maybe you could earn $10 a day. So let's call it $1 a day. That's $365 a year. And currently the Tesla fleet is, well, let's say by the end of the decade, Tesla's fleet, God, would be 100, approaching let's say 100 million cars. Let's say 100 million cars.
Yeah,
so that's 100.
Yeah. Okay.
100 million. That's, oh God, what's that? It's 3.65 by 10 to the 10, which in engineering format, engineering for, is $36 billion.
The bugs are hanging out.
$36 billion in revenue. Wow. Oh, well, potential revenue at $1 a day per car. If you get a PE ratio of 10 to 1, no, let's do it 20, because 20 is actually pretty small. That's $730 billion, which is in excess of Tesla's current market cap.
Which is
There's
about
$200 a share. There's $200 a share for $1 a day from 100 million cars.
Yeah.
So there you go. I'm not telling you to buy Tesla shares, but you should.
Let's qualify Elon's statement. He said, if the cars can run it. He didn't say they can.
So guess what, Pete? If it's not hardware 4 that can do it, I'll bet my bottom dollar will be hardware 5. Because why wouldn't you? Why would you design the algorithms to be friendly with each other, or the hardware to be friendly with multiple algorithms?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, this has been talked about for years, because there was, I'm not sure if Elon ever was part of the conversation, but there was a lot of rumors that they might allow the cars to do some Bitcoin mining or some Doge mining while they're sitting around at night, because you've got a computer with a internet connection. So that's really all you need. So why not?
And that internet connection is even courtesy of Telstra, which was probably good on a day like today.
Yeah.
Bit of a
yeah, absolutely. So Tesla has so many different irons in the fire. Forgetting about, as Elon Musk states, a quasi-infinite amount of demand for labour at a low cost. You've got the cars, energy storage. There's $500 million worth of megapacks at the Lathrop mega factory.
Yep.
you've got robo-taxi fleet potential. Yeah, energy storage, distributed now. We've got the prospect of potentially participating in distributed computing.
But even things like when you've got the robo taxi, ad revenue, they'll probably have an app store because you've got to entertain the people while they're sitting there doing the thing. And it'll be like the screens at petrol stations when you go and pump fuel. You've got a screen playing an ad in front of you. So you may either pay extra for your fare to not see the ads, or pay less and see the ads and have them come on. Either way, it's another revenue stream.
Fuel. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say quickly, Tesla could be very strategic. And you know how you pay $10 a month for premium connectivity? Well, what if they did a deal with certain providers that you would forego that $10 if you allowed ads to play on your car while it was parked? And then Tesla could get a cut of that, which could represent more than the $10 a month.
Yeah, but those ads could be super relevant because the car knows where you are, knows what time of day it is. It knows from your previous history when you're most likely to be coming back. It's got all this data about you. So, when it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you've got the munchies, it might say, there's a McDonald's on your way, or what have you. So, yeah.
A detour to the bottle shop.
Here's a question: has anybody figured out how to hotspot to the Starlink in your car?
Yes. So when you say hotspot to the Starlink, so you mean you carry the Starlink in your car?
Day like today. I mean, it wasn't so bad today, but I was working today, and sometimes it's just another option, to get online. If you could hotspot to it, because it's really reliable.
So on my last lap a few weeks ago, that I had a Starlink terminal attached to my glass roof of my Model Y the whole trip, and had effectively unbroken internet the whole way.
Wow.
So all you do is you get a Starlink. I haven't got
phone coverage.
Oh, and phone coverage. So look, to be honest, the phone coverage is a little bit, when you're driving at 110 and there are trees around, it's a little bit jittery. So it sometimes comes and goes, but it goes without saying that if you just stood still, it would be perfect. But
wow, that's cool.
It's why inconvenience yourself by standing still. So, and the way you do it is you just need to get, well, the simplest way to do it is buy a 240 volt inverter that is capable of handling, if you've got a new car, capable of handling the 15.5 volts that the...
Isn't it 14.5, Harold?
No, I think it's got a 15 in front of it. I think it's got a 15 in front, Pete. I don't think it's 14.5. I think it's 15. But roughly...
The main point is that your 12 volt won't work.
Yeah, so if you get, well, frustratingly, if you get some cheap inverters, because I saw a gentleman, his YouTube channel is Aussie8, AUSY, the number 8, and I saw he had a cheap inverter which worked perfectly fine, and that's in a Model Y. But I bought a cheap inverter and it just didn't like it. So I went and bought a Victron 350 watt inverter. I tried to buy the 250 watt, which is more than good enough, but they didn't have them in stock. So you get an inverter that can handle the 15.5 volts as an input, and you just plug the modem, which has got the router and all that stuff, into it, and you plug that into your Starlink. There's lots of videos that show people cutting down their Starlinks. For a while I had it mounted sort of temporarily with the shaft still in place, sandwiched between my passenger seat and the glass roof with just a bit of foam pads and a bit of gaffer tape. And that was okay for a very temporary solution. Now, as of today, I've actually siliconed the dish, cut very flat, so it's only 5 millimeters thick, onto my glass roof. So I'm going to have it as a semi-permanent, installation. And then you just hotspot it just as you would any Wi-Fi. The only inconvenience is when you first take off to drive, you've got to click on the LTE symbol, depending on whether it's visible or not, or go into the menu and go into Wi-Fi, and then you have to turn the Wi-Fi on for the car so that it can accept a Wi-Fi while it's driving. Because normally it presumes there is no Wi-Fi while it's driving. Yeah, and it works really well.
Wow.
A few episodes ago, I forget what episode number it was, I was in Stanley in Tasmania, and Wi-Fi in the chalet, not chalet, but place we rented wasn't working, and I had 5 bars of 4G or 4 bars of 5G, one or the other, and the Telstra network was so bad that I just couldn't maintain and access anything, so I had to go out, park the car near the back of the near the house, and leave it on camp mode and run the whole program using Starlink, hog-tied to the roof of my car.
Yeah, I remember that.
So it works really well.
Might touch you up for a bit more info when I'm ready. That's great.
Yeah, sure. And by the way, you can buy Starlink terminals. They call them refurbished. I think they're literally ones that people have just returned because they just don't want it or something like that. So I think the only refurbishment is actually probably the box. But you can buy refurbished ones now for $300.
Wow. Okay.
By the way, you were right, Harold. It is 15.5 volts. I just checked.
Yeah, I know. There was a time I thought I was wrong, but I was wrong. But yeah, so you can get them now for as little as $300. The only thing is, if you want to use it in a roaming mode, you've got to pay the higher monthly cost of $174 a month. Yeah. And there's a further technicality for anyone that's interested. When you're driving and you've got it turned on while you're moving, don't turn your Starlink app on. Make sure on your phone it's turned off. If you leave the Starlink app on, you'll get a warning notification that says you're not supposed to use the Starlink while in motion, and it's going to disconnect. If the Starlink app is not on, it will not notice, or at least not complain. Otherwise, Starlink will invite you to pay $85 a month for premium motion Starlink services.
Okay.
But that's only if you want to actually use it while you're driving. If you're only using it like a grey nomad from place to place to place, it's just $174 a month for amazing internet.
Cool. That's great. Good to know.
Alrighty. Has anyone else got any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes, Des.
The famous one, windscreen wipers, which I'm sure everyone's come across. So last week had the problem happening at night. But one thing, my wife parked next to some sprinklers went off, and car was speckled. So I gave it a good wash over the weekend. But just I was just thinking when I was washing the car, because it was the speckles all over the other cameras. Because initially I just washed the front camera. I was thinking, would it use more than one camera for the rain sensing? Anybody got an opinion on that?
There are 3 cameras facing forward, and
yeah,
I don't think Tesla's ever publicised which or how many they use of those 3. My windscreen is peppered with bugs. In fact, my car is completely buggered, and I personally use sexy buttons. Tesla's stated policy is they don't endorse any third-party connections to the CAN bus, but sexy buttons, S3XY buttons their main module, their master module, injects commands into the CAN bus which suppresses the auto wipers when you go into autopilot, because you can turn auto wipers off and they'll stay off. As soon as you engage autopilot, it forces automatic wipers on, and also automatic. Yep, and also automatic high beams as well. Having said that, at the moment the sexy buttons have got a bit of a software glitch. If it's raining, like they suppress auto wipers, that's totally cool. But if it's raining and you disengage autopilot, for some reason the car actually does recommence auto wipers. And the frustrating thing is when it does that, they start wiping like crazy at first, which is really annoying because it's usually when you've changed lanes or done something complicated to cause you to go off autopilot. And then, unfortunately, at the moment, the sexy buttons let it go through to the keeper. But it's probably a software glitch they will fix. But that's the only solution. But bearing in mind, Tesla's official line is they do not encourage, condone, or support people doing it.
Now, it'll be interesting because my wife's taking it out tonight, so we'll see when she gets back whether it's had the problem or not. But I noticed it only happened at night. What during the day?
Get some Windex on your windscreen. Make sure it's just super clean, just where those cameras are, and it'll probably fix it.
Yeah. No, but thanks, and thanks for all the feedback, and I appreciate it.
And incidentally, if you're a bit of a CAN bus nerd, so if you like to, if you've seen the Bjorn Nyland videos where he shows Scan My Tesla and you can get all your battery stats and all that sort of stuff, if you've got an iPhone, iPhones are very picky on Bluetooth devices. They're very picky, so you've got to buy an expensive dongle. One way of maximizing the return on your investment, if you want to call it, is if you use the sexy button controller, you can actually use Scan My Tesla through it, which means you get a 2-for-1. You get some sexy button features, plus you also get the Scan My Tesla connection to your car, which, if you're into that sort of thing, is a nice to have.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I like looking to it.
Alrighty. Any other questions or comments? Bearing in mind we're going to wind up as we are now traditionally doing at the 2-hour mark, so we can get this thing on X or Twitter. Because
I heard a pretty good anecdote at work the other day. So one of the guys, I didn't realise his son had I can't remember if it was a Model 3 or Model Y. Anyway, I think they were out somewhere near Dwelling Up, and they hit a branch on the road, and that branch managed to puncture some part of the cooling system. But what happened was fascinating, because he said the car instantly came up with alerts saying that the coolant leak. What it did is it said redirecting coolant flow. So what it was doing was it was shutting off pathways that was losing coolant and redirecting it to the critical parts. And he said it went slower and slower as it continued to redirect to more and more critical cooling. And he said they managed to sort of just limp into Dwelling Up, and then managed to call the recovery.
Wow, that's impressive.
I had no idea.
That would have been awesome if he had taken a photo of the screen showing. That would be really interesting to find a bit more about. Technically, that's amazing.
Yeah, I was gobsmacked. I was like, wow, that's incredible.
So it knew it was bleeding. It was like a human body. It knew it was bleeding, and it redirected the blood to more important area. Wow.
It was in the lunchroom at work, so of course then people were like, oh, maybe it's like the Terminator, as it's redirecting power to.
That is super. That is.
Yeah, I'd never heard that.
That's very cool. Pun intended.
Yeah, it got them to to somewhere a town where they could call for a tow truck. So.
Yeah. Right. Wow. Maybe if I had a bit of depending on what coolant line. I mean, look, if it was the aircon coolant, that could have been bad. If it was just the inhibitor, water coolant, you could have just got some self-amalgamating tape or gaffer tape for that matter, taped it up and then topped it up.
I don't know how handy his son is or he was, but yeah, I think they were just quite happy to just get a tow truck. But yeah, no, you could if you had to.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Very cool. Alrighty. Anyone else at this later part of the show?
I'd just like to say that the AEVA Expo was awesome. Wendy and myself rocked up on Saturday. We saw you there, Harold. I was going to come and say hello, but looked like you're in full recruitment mode. So just let you be. Saw Nigel. Hi, Grumpy. That was awesome. Yeah, it was really cool. And actually, I have to say, caught up with Sandra from the EV charging.
Yep.
Yeah, Synergy, that's it. It was so cool. Bit embarrassing because there was a Tesla there. We were doing a simulation of a charge, how you pay for it and everything. And I said, so what happens if you have to stop? And she goes, oh, you do this, you do that. And she said, pull out the plug. And I went to pull out the plug, but it just felt a bit tight. I thought, I said, it's not coming out. And she's looking at me going, oh, okay. And so she grabs it and just pulls it out. And then both my wife and I and Sandra are looking at me. I have nothing to say. She goes, I said, I didn't want to break it. That's all. Sandra was so funny. She was just, she goes, you just need to tug it harder. So
yes, because but you got to do that when the light has turned white. So when the T symbol is white,
it already had.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But as long as you see it being white, it's okay to pull hard. If it's blue or green for that matter.
So anyway.
Oh, Shane, you got bad internet. Sorry, you just.
I know you have.
Oh,
we're with Optus.
But yeah, it was awesome. Look, it was great that they had a Chem Power unit there.
That was great.
as a demo.
Yeah,
and it was great. And look, I hope that Ant will be able to report that expo at least broke even, because I think regardless of the fact that next year's annual general meeting or expo is due to go to Hobart, I actually think it's high time that Perth had an annual EV Expo.
Yeah, great.
And
great, it was so good.
I think that Perth is now big enough to probably self-sustain something like this, and AEVA is a perfect organisation to be the headline for it, because it's a neutral. They're a neutral organisation.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife was really asking questions about the different cars, the Polestars, the Volvos, and all I did was, that's not built up as an EV.
Shane's.
That's because it was an ICE car originally. Things I just go, you know what? I like my Tesla. It's built from the ground up. The engineering is just is amazing, and I just love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the Hyundai Kona is basically an ICE car. Look, the Polestar is from the ground up.
The MG is a conversion.
Yeah, there's and it's which one was it? It was the BY, even the BY. I think it was the BYD.
Yeah.
I had a look at the bonnet, and you go, there's sort of enough space for a shallow frunk. But the thing that stuck out was one of the coolant lines, the aircon coolant line with a TX valve or whatever, was fully far too much towards the front of the firewall or bulkhead. And all I had to, the Atto, and all I had to do was push that back, don't have the hoses come out so far, and you could have gained so much more room and just put a tub and install a frunk. But they sort of...
Yeah, exactly. Have you guys seen a video from these American engineers, and they're showing the coolant system from a Tesla Y to E?
Yeah, Munro and Associates.
Yeah, Munro, that's a beauty. Yeah.
I saw it and just went, boom.
Hey, you know what stuck out for me, because I went with a few guys that are I think their next cars will definitely be EVs. But I sat in all of them, and the standout for me was how uncomfortable the seats were compared to the Tesla. It's just, and I said, they don't come close in terms of comfort.
The big difference for me, Paul, was in the Polestar 3, the back row. I didn't even sit in the back row, and one gentleman came up to me and said to me, "Go and have a seat in the Polestar 3 back row. It feels very different to a Model Y." And I thought, it looked fairly similar. And the Polestar 3 is a little bit higher, but the seats are low. They're as low as the Model 3, if not lower. So you feel like, and they're shorter. So, if you've got your legs like that, the seat is here rather than there in a Model Y. And it feels like your knees are
yeah.
The floor is fairly close to the seat. In the Model Y, it's like that.
Yeah. Because why? Because they're trying to get that really flat storage when you drop the back seats down. They're trying to get it flat.
Model Y can have that completely flat. You just take the
what I'm saying with the Polestar, is that what they're trying to achieve?
I wonder, because it's got a 111 kilowatt hour battery. I wonder if the battery is quite tall to fit all that capacity in, and I wonder if that's what's taking up all that room.
Right.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
It's just not fair. It's not Tesla's fault that it's just a superior EV on nearly all metrics. It's just what it is. And the other cars will come to Tesla's standard. They will catch up to what Tesla is today in probably about 4 years' time. The only problem for them is that in 4 years' time, Tesla will be 4 years ahead.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I must say my colleague and I walked away from that expo thinking, we did the right thing buying a Tesla. Very happy with that purchase.
Did anyone see the BYD Dolphin?
Yeah. That's ugly, man.
The only cool thing was the door handles had dolphin flippers. And like one was a left-hand flipper, one was a right-hand flipper.
I didn't notice that.
You will next time. But you see the pink aircon vents on either side, and the cacophony of buttons and knobs and dials, and it was like, I was like just losing it. You just couldn't see what was what.
Yeah,
that's because all the interiors were black. They were like hopping into the black hole of Calcutta. Yeah. I guess I'm spoiled. Mine's black, but they were so enclosed. But the black turned me off. Every other car just about was black. I think the Audi had a wider roof, but I was not impressed by black.
Well, the only cool thing that the Dolphin had was the screen looked like a smaller version of a Model 3 or a Model Y screen. But the really cool thing was that you could go in portrait or landscape mode, and that was great. That was awesome. I love that.
I have to agree.
I agree.
But that was about the only thing I loved about it.
But I have to ask a question there. What is the point of having a portrait or a landscape screen and being able to change between the two?
I got one, Nigel. When you're watching YouTube, most videos are landscape, so that's awesome, widescreen. But when you watch a YouTube short video, you want it portrait so you can get the whole screen.
But can you actually watch YouTube on that screen?
Probably not.
No.
It'll be glitchy.
Nigel,
I did speak to one person who's got an Atto 3 and the screen rotates, and the only thing they said was having the screen in portrait mode is great when you're navigating. Otherwise,
I was just thinking that it might be better for navigating. I
spoke to one of the salespeople. He says you normally rotate it once, and then just leave it.
Yes, it's a little bit like the passenger. Was it the lumbar support or something? And Tesla worked out that no passengers ever adjusted it, so they deleted it, much to the complaint of dozens of people. Alrighty, well, we're getting towards the end of the program because, like I said, I have to do a hard cutoff before 2 hours because I just cannot be bothered editing or reformatting the video so we can fit it onto x.com. So any very, very last drinks or comments just before we wrap this show up?
Well, all I can say is my wife said I did 2 things great: marry her and buy the Model Y. Good night, guys. Love you. See ya.
All right, so don't go yet, Shane. Pete, I think you're going to say something as a parting thing before the other one.
It looks like India's trying to woo Tesla. So they're trying to get all the approvals in place by January of next year so that Tesla can have a presence in India, which would be a good thing. Very good thing.
Yes, and also Tesla did open a shell company, well, a holding company in Spain, which has sort of slightly reignited a possibility of a gigafactory there. But who really knows? Alrighty, so Pete, how would you round out an awesome show like this?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve.
And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join Tokwa, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Next week's my last one before the big trip. Stay safe and look for and the AGM. Oh, and the AGM. We'll see you on Saturday at the AGM. If you don't know where it is, look at the Facebook page. It's at the Greenwood Tavern at 11:30.
Yeah.
So please be there and look forward to seeing you there and also next week on Ask Us Anything.
And I'll
Good
try
night,
and
everyone.
make it, but I'll be in Europe for the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, the hard life.
Okay.
I know it's terrible, this retirement lark.
Oh.
All right, time to go.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, everyone. See you
Nice
next
to meet
week.
you all. See ya.
Night.
Bye.
Yes.